All right, good morning to you guys. Wednesday morning. That means it is the 573 report on PowerMizzou.com, brought to you by 573 Tees, your local Columbia, Missouri, Mizzou apparel shop. They've got all sorts of good things, including now a Power Mizzou collection on the site. If you go to 573tees.com/collections/Power Mizzou. You can get some site gear. This is just a chance. We want to give you guys a chance to kind of represent the site. It's a little free advertisement for us. It's a good T-shirt to work out in or wear to Mizzou events for you guys. It helps out one of our sponsors. 573tees.com/collections/Power Mizzou. They've got all kinds of other stuff too. Don't get me wrong. We encourage you to buy that, but we also definitely encourage you to check out the Power Mizzou stuff that actually they're just putting together for us. It is in progress. Not everything is up there yet. It's going to be, but just putting some things together for us this week before the start of football season. We hope you guys will check that out and support the great people over at 573 Tees. You can, again, 573tees.com online. They are downtown in Columbia in Alley A. They have a physical location, which they've just opened up here in the last few months, so you can check that out. We hope you do that. And now we are going to get to the meat of the show. That is Mitchell Forde on the other side of your screen. And look, I'm just going to say before we get into this, we are working on some audio issues on Mitch's end. They may not be fixed today. We hope they will be fixed by next week, but neither one of us are technical wizards unless, I don't know, Mitch, between now and Monday, do you plan to go to some sort of trade school?
No, my wizardry is lacking and probably will not be bolstered anytime soon.
I don't really know that I have any category in which I would describe myself as a wizard, to be quite honest.
Yeah, that seems like a life goal. Might need to work on that. If there's someone that can certify me as a wizard in something, that'd be cool.
I'd rather be like a maestro, honestly. But
that's a good one.
I would take wizard. So this is kind of the, I guess, calm before the storm week. I mean, we're out of camp. We saw, I think 15 minutes of practice yesterday, and I hesitate to call it practice. I mean, we saw stretching pretty much. And we're not in game week yet. So it's kind of that transition week of we need to keep things going and pretend there's a lot of stuff going on. There's really not a lot of stuff going on. We talked to Steve Wilkes and some of the defensive players yesterday. We'll talk about that. But I think the big news really was that Tyler Beatty was at practice yesterday after not scrimmaging and kind of, I don't even want to say limping off. He walked off the field and didn't scrimmage, but he was at practice yesterday. So far as we could tell, he did everything everybody else did, at least while we were there.
Right. Yeah. A few disclaimers. One, no one was wearing pads. So, even if he was limited, we don't know. And two, we actually didn't watch practice. Again, we watched them warm up. So it's very possible that, once they started a more physical portion of practice, they put a, red jersey on him and didn't have him participate. But the fact that he was out there is encouraging. Jay Macklin and Mookie Cooper still aren't out there as they're recovering from injuries. They're not just going to throw someone who's really hurt out there, even on a day with no pads. So I would think that bodes well for his chances of suiting up September 4th.
That's actually a thing I like that Drinkwitz does. Like, he has the injured guys. They're off either getting treatment or doing rehab or something during practice. I've always thought it's like cruel and unusual punishment to make a guy who has a sprained ankle stand on the sidelines in 99-degree heat for 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Right, yeah, and I'm sure maybe there's parts of practice they're out there for, or parts of things they can watch. But yeah, while the rest of the team is stretching and doing the same position drills they do every single day, there's probably a more effective thing they could be doing with their time.
For sure. And hey, I do know again, 9:00 on Wednesday is kind of a weird time. Some of you guys have real jobs, but for the people that are watching live, if you've got questions, comments, feel free to throw them in the comment section, and we will definitely talk about what you guys want to talk about while you're here. Hit the like button on the show, subscribe to the channel, all those things help us. Tell everybody how the two Wizards host the Mizzou show that you watch, and you really enjoyed that. Daniel Parker back at practice as well. He was sick on Saturday. He is no longer sick, which in this day and age, sadly, is still an important distinction to be made.
Yep. He is not dealing with the sickness, as Drinkwitz put
It's
it
a
earlier
sickness,
in
not
camp.
the sickness.
It was just a sickness. Same with Connor Baselak. Obviously, he was back Saturday as well. So yeah, I mean, obviously, there's been a couple injuries to true freshmen, but and things could still change. I don't want to jinx anything, but it seems like Mizzou has made it through camp fairly unscathed by major injury.
Yeah, thus far, and they'll have. I don't know. I'm guessing 2-3 more practices this week, and then game week. I think they'll generally take Mondays off during the season, and then kind of Tuesday get back into practice. And we're not going to talk about this a lot, but it really did strike me when and we've got a question about it, and we'll get to it here in a second. But it really did strike me, kind of talking about Parker's situation and the uncertainty with Bazelak, like for 6 months now, I think we've all been kind of approaching this, oh man, it's going to be so great to just have normal college football back. And it's normal-er, but this is not normal. This is not back to 2019 August in the way we were then.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's still some things you have to watch out for, some protocols, some lots of arguments to be had about the necessity of it all. And yeah, we just saw yesterday LSU is mandating fans to show proof of vaccination or a negative test to enter the stadium. So
you have to show a positive test to get in.
Yeah,
that'd be something.
Somewhat unlikely source there. I did not expect we'd see that from an SEC school, but there you go. So, we'll see how it goes. Just to answer the question Bryce asked about an update in the team's vaccination percentage. We didn't talk to Eli Drinkwitz yesterday. We haven't talked to him since last week. We will talk to him today, and I expect that will probably be asked.
Yeah, that's definitely something. And for people who hear, oh, you're going to ask that and get angry about that, look, it's a very simple reason. Once they get to 85% vaccination rate, I don't want to say the rules go out the window, but there's very little chance they're going to have to miss a game. If they go into the season at, 80% or below, they still have to go through all these protocols and test all these guys, and there's a chance they forfeit a game. So for everybody that gets upset when this is brought up, you're going to be much more upset if it's not brought up and all of a sudden week 3, I mean, the worst case scenario would be week 3 because it's SEMO, right? Missouri doesn't have enough guys to play.
That'd be a tough L.
Right, and they have to forfeit a game. Now, is that likely? No, I don't think it's likely because they didn't have to forfeit any games last year. But they did have to move one. I think, if I recall, that was Vanderbilt's fault, not theirs. But the point is,
I think there was at least one game where Mizzou was below the threshold, and I forget which one it was.
Well,
the Vanderbilt one, they were both in trouble. I don't know.
I know for a fact Mississippi State, they didn't have enough guys to play, and they played.
Right.
I mean, they were at 49 or 50 guys, and they played. And I think you can do that this year. They'll play before they forfeit. And I didn't really like the whole SEC thing. If you have to forfeit, you're forfeiting money too. There's too many variables. I think that's a terrible way to approach it, but that's what they're doing. So before Missouri gives up a 12th of its TV money, they will play with 11 dudes. Jethro Franklin and Aaron Fletcher will suit up if they have to.
Yeah, I don't want to see that happen, but I mean that would be interesting to cover. You're looking like the high school days where you've got 17 guys out there and one of them's like a scrub who they don't want to play at all, so you've got a bunch of guys playing both ways. Yeah, maybe a grad transfer I think Angel Batute is still on staff. He played a while back. He's got some eligibility left. He can suit up.
Yeah, put Kevin Pendleton back at left guard.
I think he's out of eligibility.
If we go through and all the coaches are out of eligibility, but Eli Drinkwitz never played college football, so I don't think that dude's playing.
True.
He can't play.
Right. Yeah. He's got eligibility then.
He's got eligibility, but
he's definitely not an amateur.
But I'm talking skill level. I don't think he can play. Not on this level.
If they get desperate enough, I don't know. I can see him throwing himself in there at tight end.
Depending on what kind of a mood he's in, I'm going to ask him that today. But I was thinking about the rest of the staff, they've got dudes that look like Marcus Johnson looks like he could play offensive line. Casey Woods kind of looks like he could play right now. I'm less confident in Curtis Looper due to age.
DJ Smith looks like he could throw on the pads right now.
DJ Smith could play. Aaron Fletcher might be able to play.
Yeah. I think he's getting a little further removed from his playing days than some of those other guys. But yeah, you know who actually definitely could is the strength coach, Zach Woodfin. He's jacked.
Yeah. Eric Link might be more of a long snapper type.
Well, yeah, that's the guys he
I mean,
coaches,
he is
yeah.
right. He's a special teams coach, but overall, I would be willing to bet if they had to go like if you played 7-on-7 staff, I bet Missouri would stack up pretty well.
Yeah, I think this is actually probably what I'm going to write a story on in the coming days is breaking down what position and how ready the Mizzou staff is to play versus other staffs in the SEC.
I like it. I mean, Jethro's not young. I don't know that he'd make a great defensive end right now.
Yeah, but he has the secret of Poon Chun.
Yes, he's got the Tao of Jethro that would definitely help him on the field. There's no question. Look, sometimes we get to do inside jokes on this show, so you guys don't know what that is. Go check it out. Anyway, so I mean, I could do an entire show on this, honestly, but I guess we've got other things. Eric is saying, I probably missed this on the board, but should we expect any big defensive scheme changes? And yes, you should expect an entirely different defense. They're going exclusively to a 4-man front. They're playing a 4-2-5, which Missouri played a fair amount of last year. But the biggest change is they are going from playing more man defense than just about anybody in the country to mostly zone defense in the secondary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, I think the form, kind of 4-2-5 base scheme is actually similar to what Mizzou did in 2019. Last year, they kind of went to more of a 3-man front. But yeah, they'll have, two defensive tackles, 2 defensive ends up front, 2 linebackers, and then they're going to have 5 defensive backs. But instead of Missouri last year had, and really each of the last 2 years had, 2 corners, 2 safeties, and that 5th guy was a safety who played almost linebacker. I mean, Martez Manuel even said to me earlier in camp, I basically played linebacker last year. I need to play more of a safety role this year. So, instead they'll have kind of a nickel corner. Although Steve Wilkes did say yesterday that, some of the guys that they have at safety right now can play that spot, which gives them a little bit of flexibility. And then, yeah, you mentioned the zone. He's been vocal about that since showing up, that he wants to play more zone. I don't know if it'll be zone more often than man, just more zone than Missouri played last season. He thinks that'll allow the defensive backs to get their eyes on the ball more, maybe create some more turnovers.
Well, and the 4-2-5 really is, that's a base defense for almost everybody now. I mean, even in the NFL, because the fact is you don't face offenses that play 2 running backs anymore. I mean, who lines up with 2 guys in the backfield? Maybe Michigan does. Maybe Wisconsin does. But that's about it. I mean, everybody else is putting 3 wide receivers or 4 wide receivers on the field at a time. And if you've got 3 linebackers, they are going to find one of those linebackers who's trying to cover a tight end or a wideout and can't do it. So,
absolutely.
I mean, I know I don't follow everybody in the NFL, but I know the Chiefs run a 4-2-5. I didn't really know what a slot corner was until 2 or 3 years ago, and now it is its own position. It's not even cornerback. It's, hey, we've got this guy, but he's a slot corner. He's not an outside corner. We don't want to put him out there, but we like him on this inside receiver. So it's all over, and I kind of laugh at this because the best defensive scheme to football fans is the one that your team doesn't run. Because
absolutely.
For, I bet, 16 years on this site, people have begged, well, I don't know why Missouri won't go to a 3-4. And then Missouri went to a base 3-4 last year, and their defense was bad. Or 2 years ago, maybe. I don't know. But whenever they did it, their defense wasn't very good. And now it's, glad Wilkes is going back to that 4-3. And then for years it was, we play way too much soft zone. We got to play press, man coverage, get up on these guys and challenge them. Well, you know what happens when you do that? Ennis Rakestraw and Ish Burdine, both of whom told us yesterday they didn't have very good years last year, are watching balls fly over their head 40 yards downfield because, look, the defensive scheme, I'm not saying it makes no difference, but ultimately you need 11 good players, whatever scheme you're running. I mean, you can run a 1-1-9, and if you have 11 bad players, it ain't working.
The 1-1-9, I believe that's the formation Mizzou ran on the last play against Kentucky in 2018.
I also believe it's what Barry Odom did against Mississippi State last year.
Yeah. So, no, you're 100% right. I mean, Scheme is obviously it's important to an extent, but there's no one's coming up with like a new scheme no one's ever seen before. These are all things that have been done. What's going to make a difference ultimately is the level of talent. I mean, if the other team has, George Pickens the way he was playing against Missouri last year, no matter how Missouri is opting to try to cover him, they don't have anyone who is as fast as him, so right. He is going to catch a lot of touchdowns. Like it's just kind of that's one of those things about football. I know it's long been debated, the Jimmies and Joes versus the X's and O's, and I think that's one where the ultimate answer is more talent.
Like once every 40 years, you've got a brand new scheme, right? You had the wing T at one point. Somebody at some point invented the wishbone. Buddy Ryan in the 46 was new. And then Hal Mummy and Mike Leach in this spread air raid was new. And that's kind of it. I mean, you can have variations, but most teams, and I thought it was pretty interesting yesterday when Steve Wilks said, formationally, scheme-wise, most teams are kind of similar. I mean, he basically said there's not a whole bunch of difference in what a lot of teams do. Now, they're going to run different plays off of different things, but Alabama's scheme, like Vandy can run Alabama's scheme, and it's going to look way worse.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's harder when you don't have Najee Harris and Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle and John Mechie and all those guys.
Yeah, it's helpful. Okay, got another one from Cam. When the coaching staff decided to move Chris Abrams-Drain over to the defensive side of the ball, is that something he likely signed off on, or was it out of his hands? Yes, maybe to both. And I don't know specifically with Chris's situation, but a lot of times a position change is presented as, look, if you really want to play running back or wide receiver or wherever you're at, you can do that. Like that's fine. We brought you here to do it, and you can do it. But like we got 5 dudes ahead of you, and we don't have 5 dudes ahead of you at cornerback. So would you like to take a shot at somewhere you can play? Sean Robinson did it. Chris Abrams-Drain, and he's been, to me, the surprise of camp. I mean, a guy that was kind of an afterthought to me, honestly, and now is, I don't know that he'll start, but he'll play.
Yeah, I'm actually glad Cam brought him up because everyone we talked to speaks highly of Chris Abrams-Drain, which kind of surprises me. I mean, obviously it's not easy to switch positions and suddenly pick up defensive back, but by all accounts he's done it well. I agree. I don't think he'll start, but I think he will definitely be in that regular rotation that Steve Wilks talked about yesterday. He talked about wanting to go 6 deep at cornerback and rotate guys in and out up to the extent that other teams are rotating in and out their receivers. And I think Chris Abrams-Drain will do that. He mentioned him playing in that slot corner spot. I think he can play out wide too, but I think they're kind of zeroing in on that spot for him. Kind of a cool little story.
So they've got 6 corners, really. It's Abrams-Drain, Chris Sheeran, Allie Green, Caleb Evans, Ennis Rakestraw, Ish Burdine. I know you wrote about them this morning. And look, they're all going to play. And Ennis actually brought up a pretty good point yesterday that I think a lot of people don't think about. Like, if you've got a receiver that runs a 50-yard post route, well, he's going to sub out for a new receiver on the next play. And a lot of times it's the same defensive back covering him, right? So if the next guy comes in and runs that same route, that defensive back's now run 100 yards in 2 plays, and that's tough on guys. So you like to have more than one. So it may not be the world's most important thing on who takes the first snap, but it is important to these kids. So if you're picking the 3 starters, who would you say they are?
I'm still not 100% sure what position all these guys are playing and like where they're, or if they can move around that much. Wilks was a little vague yesterday on if he wants them playing multiple spots, and you've seen the team at full 11 on 11 more than I'll just ask you this: who's the guys primarily working the slot? Is Allie Green still there? Because he was earlier in camp, but then yesterday it kind of sounded like maybe he's not.
Allie Green did both. I noticed him more outside on Saturday. I know in spring Chris Sheeran was the guy they kind of had at that nickel spot.
Yeah. Yeah. Earlier in camp, I thought it was Sheeran and Green kind of at the nickel spot, but I think, it sounded yesterday like maybe it's Sheeran and Drain there now. So I will go ahead and guess that it'll be Rakestraw, Caleb Evans out wide, Chris Sheeran in the slot, and, Rakestraw and Evans will sub in and out with Burdine and Allie Green, and Sheeran will sub in and out with Chris Abrams-Drain.
And Wilkes mentioned Jalen Carlis is a guy that can come up and play that slot too. He's a safety, but he could play the slot, and they could get another guy on the field at safety. So look, you're going to see a lot of dudes out there, especially against Central Michigan, especially against SEMO, all that. So we'll get Drinkwitz today and offensive players to be determined. This is a very vague question, but let's say Missouri gets to 8-4, which is what I think we all kind of view as nobody's going to be disappointed. Like 7-5, you probably shouldn't be disappointed, but there will be some who are. 8-4, I think everybody would be satisfied with. If they get there, do you think it's more likely because they have an offense that is carrying them to wins, or they have a defense that is keeping them in games and winning?
I mean, obviously you have to have both, right? You can't, even no matter how good your offense is, you can't, give up touchdowns every drive, and vice versa. No matter how good your defense is, your offense has to help you out some. I tend to lean towards the offense, though, for a couple of reasons. One, that's just how college football is right now. I mean, you just, teams are going to score points. And I know you've mentioned it before, like the days of holding our opponents to 17 points a game, that doesn't happen anymore. Right. And so, I think Missouri's defense will probably be a little bit better than last season, but I think the offense has, the biggest room to kind of take a big step. I could see the defense having some growing pains with all that they lost and a new scheme and first year back in college for Steve Wilkes. I think, if Missouri's going to have a successful season, like an 8-4 type season, I think it's going to be because Connor Bazelak takes that next step. They find that they have some weapons at receiver they didn't have in the past, and they're able to win more high scoring games than not.
Okay. See, I actually think I lean the other way. If they're going to get to 8 wins, I think it's because I think at the end of the year, it's more likely that we look and say, hey, they're 8-4 because their defense got into the country's top 50 than they're 8-4 because their offense took a leap into the top 50. I still have questions, especially about the run game. I saw Saturday night, the defensive line looked good, but I don't know, man, that it gave me some hesitation about the offensive line. Like, they have a lot more guys, but I don't know that they have, 5 that are going to be better than the 5 they had last year. And that 5 was up and down. It was a little bit questionable. So if I leaned one way, I'd say it was probably on the defense. Here's where I would lean. I would lean, if I were you guys, to go to 573tees.com. See, I'm getting real good. I'm doing these shows every day. I'm just getting real good at sliding into these transitions. 573tees.com. They present this show. They did it all last year. They're doing it all this year. The 573 report every Wednesday is sponsored by 573 Tees. You can get them online, 573tees.com. You go to that address, then /collections/Power Mizzou. You can buy a Power Mizzou t-shirt, and we would certainly appreciate you doing that. Want to be clear, the money's not going to us. So this isn't like a sales job to boost, to line the pockets of Mitchell and I. We're already incredibly wealthy and doing just fine. So just help out one of our sponsors. Go do that. Get a Power Mizzou shirt over there. Get any other stuff. A lot of you are going to be going back to games for the first time in a couple years. So you guys need new stuff to wear to games, right? Because it's a fashion show, man. You got to walk in Furrow Field looking good. So go check them out. Do that. Get to a question from Ben, which is a recruiting question, and that's fine. We'll do some of that on here now and again. Is Jackson Pruitt a take right now? I mean, I can't say for sure. I haven't asked anybody that. I think so. I mean, they offered him. It's that he's from Cass Tech. I think they'd take him, but also, I look at his offer list and go, well, I think that's a race Missouri should be able to win based on his top 6 right now.
Yeah, like you said, I tend to assume most offers are committable unless I'm told otherwise, and I haven't been told otherwise on this one. Doesn't mean that's not the case, but I would kind of be surprised if you're, offering a Cass Tech kid who you wouldn't take. That's a school that, you're going to want to try to continue to have good relationships with. But
no question.
Who knows?
Yeah. Eric wants to know about talking to Luther Burden Friday night. Look, I'm going to do my best. I'm going over to the game against CBC. And now CBC does have some guys. Tyler Gant, 2023 defensive lineman, does not yet have an offer, but Missouri is interested and likes him. Jeremiah Love, a 2024 receiver, 23 or 24.
I think he's 23.
Can't remember offhand, but yeah, he's a wide receiver. He does have a Missouri offer. They got a 2024 kid that Missouri's looking at. East St. Louis always has guys. They've got a 2023 offensive lineman that's ranked in the top 200 in the country. I'm not sure if he has a Missouri offer at this point or not, but there's going to be a lot of guys there. But obviously, yes, the goal is to talk to Luther Burden on Friday night. And look, I'll just be honest. There are still people that say, I don't know, I keep hearing he's going to do something before he plays a game this year. Now, we've got 57 hours until they kick off their first game. So who knows? It's possible. I wouldn't count on it. At this point, I'm expecting his commitment or his recruitment to go into the fall. But, hey, what I'm actually hoping is that I just walk up to talk to him, and he says, "Hey, will you turn your phone on? I'm going to commit to Missouri right now." And then, hey,
that would
big
be
story.
Very exciting.
That would be my favorite deal. We would be big fans of that approach, which is taking less and less these days.
That seems unlikely. I will say, you mentioned prospects in East St. Louis. From what I can tell, when they were at Mizzou's campus for that 7-on-7 thing, their entire offensive line could play high major football. The largest collection of high school players I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't know if they're any good, but I know they're big enough.
They're all 350 pounds.
I mean, Miles, and I forgot about Miles McVay at East St. Louis, so we're going to check him out. And, he's not even the biggest guy they have.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So, that'll be and also Toriano Pride is now at East St. Louis. Now look, I'm not, I'm probably, there's enough guys to talk to that aren't committed to other programs that, I'm not going to go say, so, hey, are you maybe not committed to Clemson? That's not the approach we take. There's no reason to believe that. So I'm probably not going to spend a lot of time trying to talk to Pride on Friday night, but he's there. There's going to be a ton of talent. I actually talked to CBC, to their communications guy yesterday, and he said, show up early because the parking lot's going to be full. I said, I'll be there by 6, which is an hour before kickoff. He said, might want to be there before that. He said there's going to be tailgating, and it's going to be a little bit crazy at CBC. So I'm looking forward to that, covering a game in person, seeing what that's like. You'll be at North Kansas City hanging out with Dominique Orange and Edric Hill.
Yeah, I don't think I'm not expecting quite the same level of fervor for the North Kansas City Raytown game, but should still be a chance to catch up with Dominique Orange. It'll be the first time I've ever talked to him. He's not one that loves to talk on the phone, so should be interesting to see what he has to say.
Hey, don't underestimate the pride of the Raytown Blue Jays.
And I believe the North Kansas City Hornets. So there you go.
I believe Raytown, the alma mater of Alden Smith.
Nice.
Pretty positive he was a Raytown product. And then North Kansas City, lesser-known names, Jason Palmgren and Terrell Corby. So Jason Palmgren was a starter on the offensive line. Terrell Corby was a defensive end that never quite panned out, but everybody's very, very excited about him at one point in time. So, I don't know. We're going to talk to Drinkwitz tonight, and then he'll go on hiatus for 6 days, and we'll get him next Tuesday, and it'll be game week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, starting next week, it's time to actually prepare to cover a game, do some previews.
It's back to work. We'll spend this Saturday, getting hyped up for Illinois-Nebraska, obviously. A huge game that has major implications on the national title race.
It's going to be the most watched Illinois-Nebraska football game since the early 1990s. It's actually hilarious. It's a game I would never watch under normal circumstances, but I'll absolutely turn it on.
Yeah. I mean, your dad's covering it, I think. I heard him say.
I think so.
Yeah. And somebody asked me in the mailbag, they said, could we get a worse slate of week 0 games? Am I supposed to be excited about Illinois-Nebraska? I said, last year at this time, people were excited about Central Arkansas UAB and insulting me personally because I was not. So perspective here. Illinois-Nebraska is freaking Super Bowl 55, man.
Yeah, you only have to look back 1 year for a worse opening weekend.
Right, exactly. And this is the best opening weekend of the 2020s. So, we'll go with that. So, one more time before we go, I want to remind you guys, 573tees.com. Go there for all your Mizzou gear, all your Power Mizzou gear, all your, I don't know, they'll make your Drake Heismeyer gear, your Realist George gear. They'll do about anything for you over there. Good people and definite supporters of what we've been doing here. 573 Report comes at you every Wednesday. We will wrap up this week's shows tomorrow. I'm going to chat with my friend Neil McCready from Rebel Grove. We're going to preview the SEC East, and then, hey, Monday starts game week. So, Mitch, we will see you this afternoon, man. Get working on that coaching staff 7-on-7 breakdown.
Sounds good. That's my top priority.
All right. Thanks a lot. Mitchell Forde checking out, and we will have stuff all day, all week, as we always do for you guys. Once again, 573tees.com. Go there. Right after you go to powermizzou.com, check out all our coverage. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch up with you later.